What is up, wrestling card fans? Welcome to the Huskerhav's Wrestling Card Podcast. And this month, we're going to cross the pond and we're going to talk all things UK wrestling cards. How you doing today, Husker? You want to introduce our guests? Easy for me to say.
I'll let them both introduce themselves. Why don't you guys say who you are and how you guys got started into collecting wrestling cards? Go ahead.
Yeah, go on, Kev. I'll let you go first then.
Oh, you're so kind. Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, well, firstly, I'm an old school wrestling fan. I've been following wrestling since 1990. So when the cards come out, 1990, 91, 92, it was always a case of going to the local shop, the store, buying little packets, and the addiction carried on from there, really. So that's it. Then, I mean, I wouldn't say I took a break, but it was 2017, 2018. I need a complete set. I need little bits, and the addictions got better.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, and for me, really, so I really started collecting around the Attitude Era. So over here, we kind of had a few releases sort of dripped through and through, and we obviously had the sticker albums and stuff growing up. So I kind of collected those as a kid. And a bit like most people, kind of dipped out of it and then got back into things probably the mid 2010, something like that, and started really getting into sort of base collecting and stuff. So, going over to Anthony's shop and sort of picking up base sets and doing no end of sort of base set collecting from there. And that was really how I got back into doing what I do now, really. So, yeah, it's trying to pick up and sort of follow on from there, really.
Now, I know when you kind of look at the history of the UK cards, probably the one set that sticks out as the oldest is some Portix. I think that's how you pronounce it. They were called TV Wrestlers. Do you guys have many of those cards, and what do you know about that particular product from '68?
Man, you know what? Most of the stuff on our side of things, I know particularly for myself, like wrestling cards really haven't really been on my radar sort of historically for the UK stuff, and you don't see them crop up on eBay either. We probably get like the Ogden cigarette cards and stuff crop up on eBay more than anything, and those kind of like earlier cards. But we don't see much sort of appear wrestling wise at all. Over here, up until maybe like the 90s, we see a lot of those sort of 90s sets really crop up in the mass production. But yeah, those sorts of older cards, we don't see much of them at all. I don't know about you, Kev. Do you see much of this old stuff at all?
Yeah, because I know that particular set, I'm missing like 2 cards to finally complete that once and for all. And I watch eBay UK all the time, and they're very hard to find.
So how are they released in the first place? And are they ones that you would have just seen, were they like cigarette cards, or they would have just been in?
No, they were. They were actually in packs, because I actually have one pack that they came in. So they were actually issued in packs like your traditional wrestling cards were. So they were much different than the cigarette cards back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that soccer cards are huge in the UK, and it would have married in at the same time with wrestling cards in cigarette packs, and that's where I remember them from. That's where probably Jamie gets the thoughts from too.
Okay, I was telling you guys before we started that the only real set I'm terribly familiar with is the 1992 WCW Topps UK release. One of my favorite sets because I collect Paul Heyman. So the Paul Heyman card in that, like, to me, is more his rookie than that championship marketing set. And, I actually ended up ripping a box of that stuff because I love it so much. But were you guys aware of the WCW stuff? I know you said you started like during the Attitude Era, but do you go back quite that far?
Yeah,
you definitely.
Well, we had, I don't know if you remember, the sticker album as well, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was made by Euroflash in 1992. So I remember buying the sticker album with some like 30 packs for like $1, which it's like crazily cheap. But the cards as well, if what it was like ITV, which is like terrestrial TV showing WCW, so it's a wider audience, where Sky would show WWF, which it would be like cable. So with ITV, everyone watches ITV. So people were familiar with the wrestling cards, the stickers, the wrestlers more so. But the thing is, you couldn't get WWF product because it would sell out so quick. But WCW is like, it wasn't the second best, but it was the second best, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there's some awesome cards in that lot. Do you remember picking them up?
Great.
Yeah,
what I thought as well. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Like I said, I think that's the thing, sort of around that period, like you said, people were able to get them, quite readily, and you do find them available readily still now. Like, you can still pick up these base cards or even single cards still relatively cheap for the age of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them are still only pack pulled and they are mint. There's some really good condition ones compared to your WWF ones of that same era. And there's a lot of sort of bent corners and a lot of damaged cards that you see on the secondary one, but the WCW ones seem to be cropping up in boxes still quite a bit, even to this day.
What I think is interesting about that sticker album is Stone Cold had stickers in that set. How cool would it have been if he would have had a card in that 92 WCW card set? Because they both came out the same time frame. I've always thought that'd been pretty cool if Stunning Steve would have had a card in that set also.
100%.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think there's quite a few that they missed out. Like, I know they had Diamond Stud, but like Cactus Jack didn't really get a card from there as well.
Another one.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a pretty small set overall with the number of wrestlers, like considering they have like multiple cards of some of them and stuff. And, the Diamond Stud Ronnie Garvin error card too was just kind of embarrassing, but I still consider it a rookie card. But yeah, still fun to have.
Yeah.
DDP's in that too. It's his first card. So they did hit some of them. They missed a couple, but they hit a couple others. So
yeah.
Now the
so many great wrestlers.
Yeah.
Now the Merlin products that have come out, I know some of them are. A lot of people don't realize some of them are like German only. Some are UK only. Some are UK and German. You'll have different languages. What's your rundown on the Merlin sets that came out over the years?
Jamie?
Yeah, well, from myself now, they kind of gone down with legendary status at this point, haven't they? And when people think wrestling cards over here, like, we have like, the car boot sales or like, the flea market stuff. Yeah, I mean, like, these are the sort of things that we would see everywhere. Even up to this day, like, there is massive amounts of these things cropping up. So they tend to be the set when you mention wrestling cards, even to sort of casual collectors. They go straight to those Merlin sets. Like, that's what they remember growing up with, and that's what people remember taking to the playground with them and stuff. I guess, Kev, you see them crop up quite a lot in your sort of Facebook side of things, don't you?
Definitely, yeah. 92, especially because that was SummerSlam 92 era. I think wrestling in the UK 1992 was massive. It was like soccer was going on a lull because the league was changing and everything was going on. But wrestling, it was like 80,000 at Wembley, and everyone was talking wrestling at the time. And like you go to Merlin, and do you remember the Black sticker album? It was the year before, 1990, I think.
Yep.
So that sticker album alone saved the entire sticker industry in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Think about that. Because Panini had a falling out in the late 80s, and as I say, soccer was on a bit of a decline, but it was the wrestling stickers that come out, hit the stores, and I think they sold 80,000 units in the first day.
Wow.
It's like huge. It was huge. So,
and what's interesting is some of those products, you would think that you'd be able to still find boxes of unopened packets, but they're impossible to find. Have you noticed that? You just cannot find a sticker box, back from the 90s, besides the red one, the very first one, but the later ones, you just can't find any of them out there that are unopened to be able to break them or anything like that.
You don't get the sealed stickers. They're so hard to pick up, especially, believe it or not, the Bret Hart 1993 sticker album.
That's the pink album.
Yeah, the pink album.
Yep.
Some of the stickers, they're easy to pick up, but to get a box or even like a sealed packet, it's like, I waited 2 years to find a sealed packet.
That's amazing. Now, here's a product. Were you guys able to pick up Wacky Wrestling? It was produced by Topps, and it has great wrestling photos with little speech balloons with funny comments on them. Do you guys have many of those? And what's your thought on, or do you know anything on how those came to be?
I mean, funny comments is definitely going to be something that are they really funny? They're very cringy, aren't they? As a release, and they're an unlicensed set, to my belief as well. Like they aren't a licensed product, although they were Topps. I don't think they were actually licensed by anybody, were they?
Topps, I thought they were part of Topps.
Yeah, but it didn't have a license of anything. Yeah, Topps did a lot of stuff like that too. Like seemed to be like in those late 80s, early mid 80s kind of time period where they just made sets of things that weren't tied to an actual license. I think that's just another one of them. Yeah.
And they're very derogatory in the way they're worded as well. Like, the statements on them of the jokes and things, like they're not sort of statements of the wrestling stuff. They're all pretty sort of mocking of wrestling in general. Like they're not a very nice product, really.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you look closer at the card, I think they were printed in Ireland. So I've got a feeling that it's more of an Irish release than a UK release. But
gotcha.
And the actual photo shots of the wrestling, it looks as if it's just a house show. It's just some random guys turned up with a camera and thought, here we go. Bizarre, there it's Topps.
And there's a wash of them again on UK eBay. Like when you type in wrestling cards on UK eBay, you get a lot of these crop up as well in massive amounts. Like people have got loads of these sitting around loose. But again, there's just nothing really that's appealing to a collector other than having them as in a collection of a bit of a niche thing to own, really.
Now I know I really miss being in Britain because of car boot sales. You can find so much stuff in those. We don't have those per se in the United States. Explain to people what a boot sale is.
So a boot sale is ultimately you fill your car up with a load of stuff, whatever you want to sell fairly cheaply, and you have like a wallpaper decorating table with you in the boot. You park your car up, lift your boot up or your trunk, as say in the States, put it all on the table, name your price. It's normally pretty cheap. And then people will then just walk around all the different tables and then pick up. So it's basically what you'd have like a garage sales kind of thing, but you'd all go to a location and do it. And again, they're quite a good place to pick up bargains, but you can expect not to find a lot of gold there. I think a lot of people go for these things looking for gold. But yeah, it's a great place to pick up wrestling cards. If you're worried about condition and like say if you're a base set collector or you just want to top up your stuff, they're a really good place to go looking for things, really.
Yeah, my nephew goes and he picked up a Slam Attax 2021 album and he fetches it home. I was like, oh, let me have a look through. How much is this? He goes, £5. I'm like, what? So you can get your bargains. It's more so, I think, for action figures, wrestling figures, you got a better chance with. But now and then you do find the odd wrestling card, which is mainly modern, but one day I'm going to stumble across some old school sealed cards.
Gotta keep looking.
Kevin's actually right there. Like wrestling figures tend to be what you see at car booths. Like it is all pretty much wrestling figures, really, isn't it?
Oh wow.
Now, where are some of the other places that you guys track down cards per se out in the street? Like when I was living over there, I think the store I want to say is Warts. Does that sound right?
Yeah, in some ways, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they always had a ton of
amazing shop Woolworths.
Yeah, because they always had a ton of different trading cards, and whenever I saw one of those, the baby stroller went straight in there because I wanted to go see what was in there.
And that's how it's always been. We've always had like one or two stores that would sell cards.
Yeah, WH Smith isn't too bad, like a store in the UK. But with Panini now, we just haven't had many cards in the UK. So before that, WH Smith was good. Your local news agent, like a local store.
That's another place. I used to always like going to those
and things like that. And I'd always used to pick up.
Now, one of the first products,
Quality.
what I consider more of the modern cards that came out for you guys was Face Off. Did you guys buy much of that product when that first came out?
Yeah, so Face Off, it was kind of this transitional period where we started getting sort of UK releases over here, if that makes sense. We kind of had quite a big gap. So we had sort of like that Flair era, and sort of we had Raw Deal in like the newsagents and, like I said, in these sort of places like that around the early 2000s. Then we had a little bit of a gap. We had some Flair products. We had sort of like All Access and Championship Clash over here during that period, but it wasn't in mass numbers. I think it was quite tough to find that really. Raw Deal kind of was really what we found, and it kind of followed that Pokemon thing where everyone could get Pokemon cards, and always as a kind of game like Pokemon cards out, and that sort of seems to be there. Then we had a gap for a few years, and then Topps started doing some sort of UK releases, and Face Off was kind of the first UK release that we kind of saw in the modern era, if you can call that still the modern era. And then we kind of like dropped off and then moved on to sort of having not much for a number of years, and then Slam Attax obviously then boomed and really then picked up those UK releases. But yeah, Face Off was pretty prolific over here. And again, you do see quite a lot of that over here. And the benefit at that point is Topps were doing like UK and Europe, so you kind of had mass production in it going across Europe as well. So there's plenty of it still available to this day.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting with the Face Off. I actually went into a magazine or newspaper stand place. It was outside of RAF Mildenhall where I was stationed at. And the gentleman was there, and I kept on telling him, I'd go buy a couple packs. And I was explaining to him one day, I said, I have the complete set. I'm trying to work on those silver insert cards. And he's like, well, don't you know you can feel the pack and it'll have a little mini poster in it that talks about how to play the game. And I said, yeah, I've noticed that. And he said, well, the ones that have the poster don't have that insert card. So he said, just go through the box and don't feel for the posters. He said, that'll be the ones with the insert cards. I laughed. I said, how'd you figure that out? And he said, he had a guy come in and he did that with another box, and he's like, I don't need the posters. I need those other cards. So I thought that was kind of funny that a newspaper stand guy knew a secret to how to pull the good packs.
Very true.
That's the thing though, isn't it? It's like you also find, because we don't have that many releases, it always to the mass as well. So we don't have the high end cards around here either. Like when we have them over here, is always sort of what you expect, like the kids to also be able to collect, and like everything always comes with an album, and it's always trying to get them in an album. And I think people tend to get to know what to expect from the releases, and they kind of follow that same. So it doesn't surprise me that maybe that guy knew the trick as such,
You guys don't get AEW cards at all there, do you?
So
not really.
A lot of
I've not seen any. Yeah, I've not seen any in stores. Have you, Jamie?
No, so we're in this kind of weird state at the moment. So, going through like buying things from the US, a lot of our cards we have to get from the US now. Panini tried last year to do this sort of European release, and also we had the sticker album last year, which is our first sticker album we've had, not for like a long time, but a few years, obviously. And then Panini, like we got none of the other releases really over here. We kind of just got those sort of special releases that didn't have, not the hobby level. But yeah, buying cards, we have to get them from the US or ComC or American eBay. Upper Deck again, we have to go for e-pack and then get it obviously redeemed in ComC. We can order from hobby stores abroad, but again, it's that cost aspect of it. So ship a hobby box from say Steel City or something, we're paying the hobby box price and the same price again for a UPS cost. So you end up probably paying close to $200 by the time we get the hobby box over here. And then what we do find is we do have smaller retailers here online that do sell hobby boxes, but their premium, obviously, because they're buying at that price, is about the same anyway. So it's like we haven't really got that gain. I don't know if that will even get better. I don't know what the long term will be. But before we had Panini, Topps were doing quite well. We for a little while we're starting to get all the US releases on Topps website around the same release date. We were getting blasters, hobby boxes, single packs. We were getting the Topps on demand stuff, so we were getting like the living set and sort of those sorts of Topps Now stuff. And we were in a really good place, and it's better than I've seen the last 15 years. But yeah, Panini's kind of took us back in a little bit, which it does impact us in some ways, because you start getting sort of people getting a bit more collective knowledge and more of it out there, and obviously you spread the word out a bit more, and then you suddenly lose it. You kind of, it all drops off. People forget about wrestling cards a bit, and then you end up slipping it back to how we were previously, really.
Yeah. People
now
love the chase of it.
I know the collecting standpoint in the UK is much different than it is here in the United States. Explain a little bit in regards to, like, I know a lot of your guys' product is more centered towards play than it is collecting, and even your albums, you don't necessarily see a product from Topps released in the United States that has an album like that to put the cards in. I really think the UK market does a good job of marketing to a lot of the kids more so than necessarily the adults. What's your guys' thoughts on those?
I can agree with that. Especially with a lot of the modern stuff, but like we're getting a lot of collectors coming into the hobby, I think. I mean, I was messaging Jamie before saying, for me, pre-2018, not many people were talking about wrestling cards, but now it's like I get messages, I bet you Jamie gets messages, and countless other UK guys. It's like, oh, have you got such and such a card from such and such a set I need to complete? Do you have any autos of this guy? Do you have any relics? And it is nice that the hobby's growing. I get that it is a younger audience, but I think there's a few older guys coming out of the woodwork and picking some wrestling cards up now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's part of it, because we've always been so climatized to, even people in their 20s, all they've known really is Slam Attax, and they've never been exposed to stuff. And those difficulties, even when I started getting back into collecting properly, I'd have to reach out to, guys like Huskerhav store to sort of buy a card that I wanted, because I couldn't get a No Mercy set over here, or, a Flair set, or individual singles. I'd have to be looking around all these different places to try and get these things in here. But since probably COVID, I think people have been really geared into try and collect cards again. And then you actually find that guys have got part sets that they forgot about were in the loft. Oh, there's a bit of value in this. I now want to complete this. I've got more time on my hands. And I think Kev's right. Like, people are sort of open a bit more. Oh, I didn't realize they do relic cards. This is amazing. We can get a bit of the canvas or an autograph of this person. And there's so many people who still have no idea that these cards have existed for years and years and years. And I think hopefully over time this will get better as more people start to learn, what's there. But it needs those current providers to actually provide us with actual products to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just word of mouth the whole time, really.
Yeah,
do you have
growing word of mouth? Yeah.
Do you have any independent wrestling cards are like huge here in the States now, and I know there are quite a few independent organizations over in the UK. Do any of those do card releases?
Man,
it's happened this year. Yeah. Like Adam Hanslip, I don't know if you're familiar with Adam, Jamie. He's like a ring announcer for UK wrestling. He produced a set, and there was TNT Wrestling, so they've had a set. Hopefully it'll catch on, but TNT sold out their set within 2 days, I think. So who knows where this can go?
Yeah.
And and we had this boom period, before NXT UK, and obviously we had the height of the British Indies. We're having guys coming back and forth from the UK, and we had a magazine, sort of little while, called Resurrection Magazine.
Yep. So very good, very good magazine. I used to get that.
It was a great publication. Like, every month, and they had like trading cards with it. And there was a full set, but they were a limited run. Like, they originally, with the first release, was like 100 cards, and then it was like 250 print run. But again, some of those names in that set, these are guys who are coming over from the UK pretty regularly, and really they're their rookie cards. And people saying, oh, Battle of Los Angeles, this is the rookie of Tommy End or Zack Sabre Jr. or Will Ospreay. Well, these guys had these predated indie cards in the early, 2010s, and they're kind of forgotten in time. And like those releases, and there's a sticker album that went with that as well, which was near impossible to collect. But again, there was a load of stickers which have completely dried up, and trying to find those, I don't know how anyone managed to complete those albums, because the magazine folded and then it all kind of stopped. But there's Yeah, there's a lot of those indie things which were around, but they're quite hard to get hold of. And you try and get hold of these people on Facebook, you get no response. It just dries up completely, and it's a nightmare.
Wow.
Yeah, that sticker set from the Resurrection magazine, that's one of the holy grail sets that I have that I wish I could get my hands on that I'll probably never be able to find. I remember when the gentleman who made that magazine was getting ready to fold up, he mentioned something about that they had a sticker set that they had very limited production in. If I remember right, I think he said he dumped it to someone, basically bought all of them. And I was so upset because I wanted those so bad because I knew they were going to be some phenomenal people and just a very rare sticker set to have.
Yeah, and I remember when we were discussing in the past about buying those packs, and like between us, we tried to buy as many as we could to get our own base set originally, you know. And like you look back at it now, like you actually see on some Facebook groups that some people were even trying to get an autograph on every single person in that sticker album because they're on the British Indies.
Yeah.
And like you'd love to think that that person could actually even complete that and what that would be worth as a collector set now, because there's a lot of massive names in there that are now household names as a result of that period. But yeah, it's good to know that people were still trying to do trading cards, but they don't get much love online, which is really quite surprising.
Do you guys have some of those stickers in your own personal collection?
So I've got a partial album, but yeah, I don't know about you, Kev.
Can you do me a favor when you get a chance and scan some of those pages and some of those stickers? I'd like to see them because I never have ever seen what they actually look like in real life.
Yeah, of course I can. Yeah, I'll do that for you. That'd
be great. That'd be great. Appreciated. Hey, I want to touch on something else, a product that I love that really didn't catch on in the United States. And that's the Attax product, Slam Attax, or they had football Attax, and they even did hockey and baseball here in the United States, but it just never really caught on. But I love all the Attax products that come out in the UK. I even like the Doctor Who Attax products. What's your thought on what Slam Attax has done for your industry in the UK, and how cool is it that a lot of times they'll bring in rookie cards a year or two before they'll show up in the United States?
I was just going to add on I don't know if Kev said this, but the checklist for those cards is massive, and that was really our bread and butter over here for many years. To try and then you're talking 400 cards in some of these Slam Attax sets.
Yeah. Yep.
So. And there's like so many different permutations of that as you go through. And yeah, again, like we had them here for so many years. And as you rightly said, some of those cards are the rookie cards of some of these people. Your Charlotte Flairs, your Pages, these are their very first card that they had mass produced. And I think, again, they're starting to get a bit more love in the US. I think people weren't aware of these in the US, much as the same as we weren't aware of the US sets over here. But then you look at things like Slam Attax Chrome, that's gone down as one of the best sets that Topps put out, and that's loved by the Americans now. And that was a couple of years after we'd even had it here. That John Cena NWO card, that was the only time we saw an NWO Cena card. And that's people after the super fractors of that, the blacks, the reds, the silvers, anything of that John Cena card. So we had a really good period of Slam Attax, and I think people to this day are still trying to complete those massive checklists because we had it over a decade, so it was a long old period, really.
Hey, I was gonna piggyback off the Slam Attax. What I thought was kind of cool about Slam Attax is they've kind of evolved over the years. Now you're getting limited edition cards, you're getting relics in them, you're getting autographs in them. When they first came out in 2006, and then I think it was 2008 and then 2010, you didn't have a lot of chase cards per se in them, but you do now in a lot of the Slam Attax products, and I really think they've done an outstanding job. I mean, when you can look at some of the selections that you get with them being as big as they are, they make them very fun to collect.
Yeah, 100%. And also they're interchangeable. Most of the Slam Attax cards, you can play them across different eras as well, so they kind of match up quite nice. So if you don't get a full set from a couple of these, you can then use another Undertaker or something if you were to play the game. And you're completely right about the relics. Like, until we saw them being dropped into those sets, we had no relic cards actually released over here at all within a set. So it wasn't until those in those mid-teens, we started seeing, it's a really cool relic. It's like the table relic, we've had Bray Wyatt's chair as a real short print. And we've never had any other Bray Wyatt chair relic across any set at all, really. And again, having it dated on the back as when that event was, like Royal Rumble 2020, we had in a Roman Reigns table relic. This was all new to the hobby. And I think that also piqued that interest in wrestling fans. Like, my God, are there any other relic cards? And then people then find that Topps have been doing this thing for a long time, really.
One other thing I want to ask you about the Slam Attax is kids. One of the big things during the holidays is advent calendars, and they did a Slam Attax set one year with the advent calendars, and they had a couple of the female wrestlers dressed up in Santa Claus outfits and different things like that. Did you ever get those, any of those cards, and how hard are those to find? Because I've been looking for that set for quite a while, and it's almost impossible to find on eBay UK.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, trying to find those, and I think the same again, because they normally appeal towards children. Like, they're going to be lost in kids' bedrooms, in boxes, they're going to be damaged, and they're not really for us as an adult collector. Like, they're going to be tough to find. And we have the same thing in the video games. We have a retailer here called Argos, which is like an electronics retailer. And they used to do a Slam Attax special card in some of those games. They're like 2K14, 2K15. They'd have like the cover star in a Slam Attax card. And you don't see them crop up very often. I guess they're still sitting in game cases or, again, being damaged or lost. And over time, they actually didn't put them within the game case itself. They just gave the packet when you pre-ordered. So again, like, did anyone actually do anything with them? Did they discard them with the receipt? And looking for those cards to complete, because they're still part of that official checklist. They'll be listed on the checklist as 2K14 card. But yeah, they're really quite tough to find, these sorts of special editions from certain sets, and like, they are a real chase.
Hey, one of the things that is kind of a UK product that I liked, and I really got into them big when I was stationed overseas, are WWE Chips. Why don't you talk a little bit about those? Did you guys pick up many of those, and why did Topps kind of stop making them? I really like those products.
Yeah, and they're a really unique piece as well. This and they're a full-size poker chip. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they're a full-size poker chip that you're kind of getting with the wrestler image on them.
Yep.
And again, that you kind of get them in some retailers, but they don't appear in all. You could get them in maybe a couple of your branded news agents, but then you wouldn't find them if you went to another town. They wouldn't appear in that news agent, or you maybe go to your local Toys R Us and you'd be like, wow, there's actually, like, they do chips in it, and you clear them out or buy whatever you want to them. And then you never see them again for months and months until maybe they go on clearance, and you just wonder where they cropped up from. And it's a bit like the dog tags as well. We kind of had a few of the dog tags come over here temporarily, and then they dried up quite quickly. It seems to be that we've always been a case of we get a few things and then we don't get much more of that. It's like we get one shipment, and then once it's gone, it's gone. And we have the same issue now, even with the more modern sets. That Topps Superstar set we had out, during the pandemic, it was kind of like our final UK release, and it is an amazing set. Like,
it is.
It's pretty much. It's the inserts are stunning. The artwork is stunning throughout the set. You've got a few chase inserts which are achievable. Although you've got a massive checklist of, again, 400-ish cards. You have got this massive autograph sticker dump within the set as well. So because it's the end of the Topps WWE license, you look at the autograph checklist, and it is like everybody you can think of has got a stickered auto in it. And again, it was on the shelf for maybe an 8-week period, and then it dries up. It doesn't appear. You can't find boxes on eBay very occasionally. You can't find sealed wax anywhere. You don't find packets. And even the autos, I've got a spreadsheet, that I'm checking weekly to try and see, did any of this stuff actually get out? Because you never see any Triple H's, any Undertakers, or even like the bigger names. You don't see their autos on eBay. And you would have thought, with such a massive checklist, with most of these guys having a numbered auto out of 99, that this would be all over the place. But it just doesn't appear. I think it just dried up and it vanished. And that seems to be the pattern again with the Panini stickers. We're getting them for about a month, then you don't see them ever again. And I don't quite know why that is in the UK. If they only have certain supply arrive and then it just vanishes.
Did you get into any of the Flip Madness books?
Again, this is something that cropped up. You had to buy it online. I don't think it ever made it to actual retailers. You had to, I bought some from the non-type R retailer, but as a product, it's quite a unique piece. So you kind of had, I'd imagine it's like the old panoramic photos you used to get, I'd imagine size-wise. And it was a double-sided flip book. So one side you'd have the finisher move of, say, Xavier Woods, and it would be him doing, the knee to the face. And you flip it the other way, and it'd be a different move the other side, and it'd be like this little flick book. But it wasn't ever in retail. We kind of had this promo poster that, this is coming soon, and you could actually buy it on the website, and you could buy it by a case or buy the flip book. And it was only a couple of pound a book, but like buying a case was only like £30, so about $40, something like that. And you get a whole case of 30 or something to that effect. So you'd be better off to do that. But that then never really surfaced in actual retailers. I never actually went into a local store and saw the flick book there. And the same thing again, like that came, went, vanished. And it's like you never see Flip Madness appear on UK eBay. And you don't ever see any other types of Flip Madness. It wasn't like they were doing a brand new brand and having football or wrestling or any other sport. It just came and went. And I know, obviously, I guess you've been trying to get some, for your own stock and stuff, for your own collection. Have you ever managed to get any more than that initial case that we ordered together?
No, I ended up at the time frame. I ordered 3 boxes of those when they came out, and so I broke what I could. But I'm still missing a few of those books from completing that set. But I will tell you this: I did contact the distributor at one point. They were supposed to be doing a second edition, and I put a bug in their ear. I said, why don't you do something with tag teams? That way you could flip the book. One direction would be one of the tag members, and then the other direction would be the other tag member. And the guy was like, wow, that's a good idea. I never even thought about that. But then again, time has come and gone since that product come out, and I never did. There's never been a second release. So I wonder whatever happened with that.
Yeah, I don't think anything probably happened at all. And like I say, I think maybe it didn't take off online, and then there wasn't the money to do another load, or did a distribution deal fall through, and as a result, it never made it to market. But yeah, it never appeared other than that one website that you had to order through. But if anyone wants to check that, it's a really cool thing, and it's never been done. I've never seen any other time that wrestling's ever done like a flip book or an animated type thing outside of like your emotion cards. The flip books are a really cool piece, and I think there is a collecting scene there for them.
Something I never seen, to be honest with you, Jamie.
I'll send you some photos because again, I've only got 1 or 2. I haven't got that many, but yeah, they're a real cool thing, Kev.
Yeah, pretty hard to find on eBay, things like this. And I've been listening to what you're saying there with Slam Attax and all the autograph stuff. Sorry if I couldn't get in on the audio. Hopefully we're okay now.
Yeah, you sound good now. Sound good.
My God.
You can go ahead and share your thoughts on the Slam Attax now with us if you want to.
Yeah. What I was saying is that I prefer Slam Attax now than what I did at the time. It's so great to pick up, and little packs that you opened, so many in each set. But now I look through, find certain cards, find certain wrestlers, and I find that's the fun side of it. Trying to like make a Hulk Hogan set or an Austin set from over the years, then tracking down the certain rookie cards. It's all good fun. And I hope Topps does come back. I do prefer it to Panini because it was widely available in the UK compared to, I think it was 1 set over here.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, Slam Attax isn't everybody's cup of tea. For most adult collectors, it doesn't really appeal. But if you just love collecting, then you're not worried about these massive one-of-one case hits. Then Slam Attax is a perfect product for just a card collector, and it's a good budget as well. A box of Slam Attax is like between £25 and £30. So, you're getting a lot of cards there. You might want to buy a couple of boxes, and you're going to get probably a full set. And because there's so many people buying them, there's loads of Facebook trading groups. People are always saying, "Oh, I need my needs list, my wants list," and there is that really old school playground of actual trading of cards because there is little value in them. Like if you want a base set, it's nice to have, and it's lovely doing that in the UK. And I don't think you really get that in the US as a collector stuff. You don't get many people trading cards like you once did.
No, you don't get the love for it like you do in the UK, and I think a lot of people in the United States are kind of missing out, especially from the collectability aspect of it, because the sets are so large, and they have such a great dynamic amount of different wrestlers, legends and everything else that they put in there. I would say probably by and large, the majority of Slam Attax that I sell in the United States or to people that are autograph collectors. They'll go and buy a bunch of, say, Sergeant Slaughter, and they'll find out that, oh, hey, he's got these Slam Attax cards. I've never seen them. And they'll buy them when they're going to meet him, get autographed, because they're different. They didn't even realize that they were there. So I would say by and large, the majority of Slam Attax that I sell are to autograph collectors, and then also to just individual wrestler collectors. They need them for their own personal sets, but I really think people that are set collectors in the United States, if you haven't really taken the time to look at Slam Attax, you're really missing out on some great products.
Yeah, and the imagery is normally pretty unique as well. Like, a lot of those shots you don't see across any other Topps products. Where we've seen in later Panini stuff, there's a lot of image repetition, and you kind of lose that a little bit with the new Panini stuff.
Right. Because Slam Attax has really done a good job of every photo that you have is going to be a unique photo. It's not something that you've seen on a card 2 years prior, or, it's not like the same image but blown up on an insert parallel or something like that. They don't do that, Slam Attax, and I think that's wonderful that they do that. I imagine it's probably the same way with your soccer release and the other sports that you have there in the United Kingdom, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because where you've got like your normal Topps, your Topps flagship set as such, you would get the main roster. But because you've got such a wider field with the Slam Attax, you get everybody, like referees, managers. Everybody has a card in Slam Attax, and I think that's quite nice because these guys may not even have a card. Like Justin Roberts, for example, he would have a Slam Attax card every single year, but you probably never see him in the normal Topps US releases.
Not too often, no.
Yeah. Same with wrestling belts. You get like SummerSlam logos, WrestleMania Backlash, all sorts of wrestling logos, briefcases. I was looking through a set yesterday. I thought, wow, there's so much to this.
Yeah, and people even like like you said, the belt cards, like having images of just all the title belts. You don't get any sort of annual release of like the different tag team belts in the US releases, or highlighting the history of a belt. And we've had all those kind of things in the UK releases that sort of hone in a little bit more detail because you've got more cards to play with. There's some really cool releases. And I think if people want to check out Slam Attax, I think definitely have a look. You can buy job lots on eBay fairly cheaply if you just want to dip your toe in. Slam Attax Chrome again, it's a really nice product. It's a nice finish. You're at the latter end of the Topps WWE license at that point as well. So there's a lot of autographs if you're an autograph hunter. If you want to get a base or a coloured base, I know a lot of people want to go for all the oranges, for example. They crop up quite a lot as well. So I recommend people having a look at those as well. I know there's a guy, Cambridge Trading Cards. He's massive into Slam Attax Chrome. He's bought cases of the stuff to try and get the full base sets, and he wants the base set of every colour parallel. They can get the green, the oranges, and again, like he has kind of got this thing where not many people have those other things that he can collect. So he's kind of on a bit of an island that there are a few collectors who want certain wrestlers, as he mentioned, but you can't trade across the sea. And over in the UK, not many people got onto the Chrome train because it came, went, never seen again.
Yeah.
All right. You have anything else for him, Anthony?
No, I think that's a good overview. I appreciate you guys coming on. I'll just ask you one other quick question before we go. Where do you see the hobby in general going in the UK? Do you get the feeling that you're going to start having maybe trading card shows and stuff like that you'll see here in the States, specifically for trading cards? Are you seeing more shops that are collectible shops popping up in some of your cities? Where do you see the future?
No, I could only see it go one way, and that's up. Wrestling cards alone, there's so many old school wrestling figure guys, merchandise guys. I think they're turning their eye now to wrestling cards. I think obviously you're going to get new products that are going to keep wrestling fans coming back for more. There's more and more shops popping up every week. There's one in my town that's opened, and I was like, wow, never thought that would happen. Then you get in your trading card fairs, which I think I've been invited to like 3 this past month, which is coming up. So I know Liverpool are doing a lot with trading cards, which is nice to see. And it's just the start of wrestling cards for me. I look at the Hulk Hogan rookie card, 1982. When I come back into wrestling, that was selling for about $700 back in 2017. The same card is nearly $50,000. I keep going. That's my.
And again, I agree. Like, I think things are just going to be going up in the UK. I think it's more people get more exposure to things. I think as long as the card producers, whoever it may be at the time, if they can at least recognise that there is a UK market, I think as long as they can build on that, I think it can only go up. I think the way it's going to go more than anything is a lot of people are going to have to do online retail or buy, directly from the online retailer. I don't know how many card shops can actually sustain long term. In the US, your hobby stores, you can stock all your hobby stuff. Whatnot is obviously available. Most people are doing breaks and all that kind of stuff. We haven't really established that break-in nature, and I don't really want us to maybe go down that route either. I think the American US side has kind of lost something around. I know there is obviously money in cards, but I think it has lost something that a lot of people spend a lot of money and stuff. I kind of like that we are sort of collectors in the UK as opposed to profiteers. I don't want to lose that, but I think more exposure and people getting on board and knowing other things other than Slam Attax, I think can only be a good thing because, it helps us, our shipping costs come down. People will have more product. People will more likely to say, I'm buying a case, do you want to get in on this? And we can all split the shipping costs together. I think that's the only way we can grow, really.
Yeah, I think one thing that we seen, and I know Mike and I have talked about this before off the air, especially with Panini having gotten a license from Topps. In the United States, a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is going to bring all kinds of new eyes or new faces to the hobby." Well, the new faces that they brought to the hobby wasn't necessarily collectors. They weren't necessarily people that you really want to do business with. These were guys that all they were doing was finding what product they could, make whatever money they could out of it, and they were going to be out the door. And as far as I'm concerned, if that's all Panini brought to our hobby, well, Panini could have kept them because they didn't do anything to make our hobby better. When you have people coming in that first and foremost, the only thing that they're looking at is how fast can they make a buck off of a product, I don't consider that collecting. What about you, Mike?
I think Panini have got something to as well. So Panini are based in Italy. They haven't got a UK office, so everything they ship comes in via Italy. So we've got this whole Brexit thing as well. So when they leave Italy, it's then got a clear custom to come to the UK. So as a result, there is a reluctance from Panini to do anything of high value into the UK. But even here, like people would say, I didn't even know this was even existed, or I didn't realize there was even, the lower end Panini sticker album coming out and stuff. There is still quite a disconnect between these card companies and the UK. And until they get a grip on that and actually promote things a bit more, I don't think we'll see much more. I think people will rely on other sources to learn about stuff. So, things like what you're doing today, someone from the UK happens to ping up on it. This is the kind of stuff that will just get that out. And I think word of mouth is a really good thing around this sort of thing, really.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you guys for being on. I learned a lot about UK wrestling cards today. That was a lot of fun for me. And, for everybody else, we will see you soon. Take care, everybody. Thanks.